This is Las Vegas, Nevada, and we've got 12 teams fired up for 6 amazing games of 5v5 Vainglory action. This is week 4 of the VPL Preseason Invitational.
What does it take to mold a champion? Shape your destiny. Hone your craft. In mobile esports, it doesn't get any bigger than this. Today is where the molding begins, the preseason, where teams have the chance to establish their rhythm as a new 5-player team, try out strategies, and gel as a group in preparation for a historic run for the championship. The VPL Preseason Invitational begins now.
On the slate today, we have more heart-stopping EU action as Rising Lotus looks for a marquee win against Powerhouse Clash. Later on in North America, after yesterday's unexpected loss versus Nova, Tribe Gaming battles to re-establish its top position against Slimy Salamanders in our hype game of the day.
Boom! How's it going, everybody? Yesterday's games, very exciting, a lot of very interesting results. We're back again today for a bunch more exciting mashups. My name is FlashX, joined by my good friend Tasty Bacon.
I cannot wait to get these games underway. There's only 3 days left of preseason action, and the standings are starting to take shape. Everyone trying to build momentum towards the regular season. Clash and Team Queso still sitting tied atop the leaderboards here in Europe. Salted Potatoes and Rising Lotus right behind them at 3 and 4. Then Equinox Esports and Wolves Esports rounding out the rest of the European standings. And we had word from one of our players earlier this week about their upcoming matchup today.
This Sunday we'll be facing Wolves Esports. And as for Wolves, they don't really have any individually very mechanically skilled players, and therefore we should just capitalize on the individual skill, I feel like. And if we can just beat them up in that aspect, we should have the game pretty easily in our hands. And I would just kind of like to wish them good luck, because in all honesty, I feel like they would need it.
Some strong words coming out there from Aeon, obviously feeling very confident in their matchup. However, that will be later on in the day here in Europe. First, we have 2 other fantastic matchups. Which one are you looking forward to the most, Flash?
Has got to be the upcoming Equinox against Queso. Equinox, a huge win yesterday. They're definitely going to be trying to ride that momentum for an uphill battle they have again against Queso here today.
Yeah, Queso is obviously going to look to keep their winning ways rolling as well. We're going to find out who it's going to be in a moment as we have the draft completed. Take a look at the picks and bans. You see the composition for Equinox on the top, composition for Team Queso on the bottom. The thing that jumps out to me most, first of all, Kroll getting through the bans, but also Lance getting picked by Queso.
Lance is not a captain that we have seen very often here in the preseason. It's definitely a captain that has a ton of synergy with Kroll. There's so much slows, there's so much crowd control. If Queso can make it work, it's going to have a ton of effect here on the Sovereign's Rise.
We'll see if it can work. We haven't seen a lot of Lance like you mentioned, but on the side of Equinox, they got that Celeste Kestrel, and we've seen Kestrel putting in some serious work across the Rise. And one thing that stands out to me as a big surprise, though, is no Reza in this draft. No picks or bans for Reza when we've seen Reza just dominating across Sovereign's Rise. We'll see if one of these 2 teams can dominate the other as we head into our first game with Dowsy and Stress.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the European VPL Preseason Invitational. Equinox versus Team Queso on the rise here. Stress. And Equinox yesterday seemed resurged with a new roster switch up, so we'll have to see how that compares to Team Queso.
Oh, for sure. You give me this matchup a week ago, and I'm like, okay, it's going to be a one-sided affair. Like, Queso are going to do super well. Well, this time around, I mean, you look at the Baby Groots and the influence they've already had on this lineup just in one game under their belt. Like, it's been a very impressive turn of events. They've been looking better in the early game in that one-off game, and that's where Clash's strength is. I want to see these 2 match up against each other now with the revamped lineup and see exactly what Queso can do, because they struggled a little bit yesterday up against Rising Lotus. It was a tougher game than we expected in that matchup too.
Yeah, that matchup was pretty crazy. It was Rising Lotus in the lead by 10,000 gold at one point, maybe even 11. And basically Team Queso on the back foot for the entire match until they were able to sneak a win. If you didn't watch it, won't spoil it, but definitely go check that one out because it was a bloodbath, which makes me excited for our next game, which will be Clash versus Rising Lotus. But let us not get too far ahead of ourselves. Equinox continuing to mix up the rosters a little bit. You have Luger coming in instead of Baby Groot. Luger and Jiraxis used to play on Team Norm Pisani back in the Challenger Series, so very experienced roster there. Always were very, very dominant when they ever went duo in any team. And with Baby Groot Part 2 kind of solidifying the jungle, this is actually a fairly decent roster for Equinox.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. As you referred to, the Baby Groots, not both of them playing in this matchup. One thing specific to this game that I think is very interesting, Alex SS is playing this lane Grace. This is something I was watching Hundo play a little bit yesterday on stream. If it is in fact that damage-focused laner of Grace, like the massive AoE that comes from it, there's a good amount of damage, tankiness, sustain. It's actually quite a difficult champion hero to play against in solo queue. I want to see what it can do if it is that, in fact, when we're in the 5v5 setting, when it is a competitive game, when it isn't just solo queue and trying to kind of carry from one side. Because he's not exactly the hardest carry champion, just tough to deal with.
And not to mention Alex SS laning up against Hundor, which means he's laning against Tyras as well. These guys are pretty much joined at the body at the moment. They roam into the enemy jungle together. They roam around the map together. As you can see, Tyras and Hundor just trying to steal away as much gold in that topside jungle whenever they push Alex SS into his turret. So, bot side, Baby Groot potentially caught out here. PRZ and Palmatoro are doing some damage as Kestrel's struggling, and that shall be him falling for first blood to Palmatoro.
First blood, and always a tough moment there as Kestrel when you're like, okay, I'm not getting a getaway, so I'll stand my ground, I'll try and fight. Unfortunately, not quite enough damage coming through, and no real backup there from Vox as he was a little far away for Svantu to actually get in the mix. And I mean, it's kind of an interesting setup, this Vox Kestrel in the bottom lane and moving around the bottom side of the map. I kind of am interested to see how it goes. There's a fight on the top side though out of Jiraxis, lands those chains twice.
Hundo and Tyra's trying to get a little bit cheeky and steal away a Crystal Treant, but wasn't going to happen. Equinox able to defend that.
And now the mid at least attempt to de-push the lane the way that Queso had been moving in through the top side. Decent vision control with the scout cams all the way basically in a line from behind their crystal power orb all the way through the river. Now they've caught out PRZ maybe, chains did land.
Yeah, don't think Luger wanted to pursue that too far. Not quite got the vision on where Tyras and Hundor are. They haven't returned to lane as of yet, so fairly wise to be tempered in their aggression. Hundor now going to roam back up and make sure he secures all that gold in the top side. One thing that Rising Lotus did so well against Team Queso in the early game, especially Stress, was really holding back Hundor and Tyras in that top side. But so far, Equinox are really giving them free reign to do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's been a lot harder to stop them in this game, and we kind of mentioned that that's because of the way that Equinox, they put the single laner up in the top side. Yes, you've got Churnwalker bouncing between top and mid, but it's not a permanent fixture. You've got your duo down in the bottom lane with this Kestrel, with this Vox, and that's where Tyras and Hundor can freely move between the jungles, into the lane, down towards mid lane, and try and get any impact on the game. It's something I want to see Equinox maybe focus a little bit more, and that's what they're doing, putting Jiraxis here, but you can see the disadvantage now on the levels, on the experience between the two up in the top side. Level 4 for Equinox, level 5 for Alex SS, and level 6 for both of Tyras and Hundor.
Yeah, to be able to roam into the jungle and really just share that experience on those central jungle camps. That's where all the experience comes from for the jungle, and it's just put Hundor and Tyras in such a strong position. You've got that ultimate for Cruel, you have the Oblivion for Samuel as well. It's a very dangerous time to be an enemy of Team Queso, and with that extra power, they're going to start pushing down the lane. Does look like LXS trying to stop them up a little bit, is able to push them back off the turret here. A bit of turret damage comes out. A Solar Storm will rip through, but misses Tyras. And Jiraxis on the top side. That might just be Team Queso happy to just take the damage they've done. Although that turret would fall very quickly. In the mid though, Techno JJ and PRZ are doing a lot of work, and you can see that scar for the Goop burning through the turret. So Team Queso, despite them not actually taking a turret out yet, they've really got the lead on that objective game.
Yeah, no, I'm really interested to see how this Lance pans out. We haven't seen it here in Europe until today, so one game in North America. I mean, it has the ability to make plays. That's one of the reasons to pick it, and here could be the play.
Yeah, Oblivion puts to sleep that Kestrel, Hundor, and Tyras are currently doing work. Alex SS trying to frontline, but he has to fall back here. Baby Group Part 2 can't really get involved. Huge damage, though. That's that Churn Walker we talk about doing the work, and that's going to be 1 kill going over to Baby Group. The second one will come through. In fact, it's double kills for Duraxis on that Churn Walker, amplifying the damage. It's such a dangerous game to play, being hooked up by Churn.
Yeah, it looked to Queso like it was their fight to take. They had the Lance coming up, they landed a bunch of crowd control and started it off. Then there was damage down in the bottom lane as well, but look, then there was the turnaround on the fight. It's difficult when there's so much back-loaded AoE damage in this composition that comes out of Equinox that it looks like it's a good fight, ends up not going the way of Queso. Now they lose the tower as well. They even lost a member down on the bottom side as well, as Luga, I believe, died to Palmatoro under the tower.
Yeah, they were trying to pressure across the map. Stress, something that you've talked about before, is when you have numbers on one side, you don't have them on the other. And a bit of an issue there really comes out as Palmatoro takes out Luga, which subsequently means that Equinox lose their mid turret, and now they're going to lose a Ghost Wing as well as their top turret. So even though Equinox seemingly coming on top through that one team fight, Team Queso have really flipped the scoreboard.
And we're trying to cover everything in this setup here. There's a lot of slightly different things that we don't normally see. Palmatoro is going a less captain focus build on this Adagio than we have seen. Obviously, has been laying on his own. Here comes another fight.
It's going to be Tyra's doing so much burst damage to Savantu there. Can he get away is the real question. No, he can't. Techno JJ eats him up for dinner. Luga is in trouble. Can he get some kills? This Churnwalk is doing damage. That's a big block coming out of PRZ. Is it enough for Team Queso to get out? Here comes Alex SS right into Tyra's, right into Techno JJ. I think Equinox want this fight, but can they do the damage is the question. Alex SS heals himself. Vulnerable, trying to get on to this Kestrel. One shot hits PRZ. That will take him out. Techno JJ is going to lose his life as well. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, he's trying to...
Hundor's been pushing turrets. This is not the best for Equinox. They've lost 2 turrets so far to Hundor, completely untouched.
Yeah, Hundo with a good play in the middle lane. Obviously didn't want to roam down for the tail end of the fight. The fight had split up, and yes, okay, there's AoE damage that comes from Samuel, but he couldn't really get in position for it. And you know, that's one of the things that Grace is still going to offer when you look at Alex SS, how tanky he was, how that heal comes out, the damage reduction in the kit is still there, even if you're building, you know, the damage route. And that's one of the things that makes it very difficult to deal with. Now, mid lane push comes out. Equinox are going to be able to take that tower down and then retreat back and kind of reset this game for themselves. So trying to recoup a little bit of what was lost to Hundor there.
Well, big fight coming out of Team Queso here, and Duraxis just seems to be lost in the middle of it. Alex SS pops the kill, tries to keep Duraxis alive, but he gets put to sleep, and that will be the end of the story. Now, what do Team Queso do with this little bit of pressure they've found? There is still a turret in the bot side that they might group up to take here. Equinox are all pretty much set up, ready to go for a fight if that does pop out. But here comes Queso, charging on him. PRZ misses the Impaler, but Baby Groot is almost dead due to the massive poke coming out of Techno JJ and Hundor. A Solar Storm does hit the front line, but the front line's tanky, and that's their job. Stefantu, hell, he's just going low right now. I don't think they're going to be able to hold this turret. In fact, I'm not sure they want to hold this turret anymore. Luga's trying to clear the wave with that Celeste, but at this point, turret will fall, and now Luga very low. Palmatoro will just charge forward and find the kill. Alex SS and Duraxis caught between no man's land, and that will be one more kill for Queso as Duraxis does retreat and Queso find a turret, and maybe even just Safantu, who seemingly isn't with us right now. But he will be going back to the Sanctuary.
This is where you have to look at the objective priority and what is useful to defend and what isn't. So Equinox there are trying to stop and delay Queso as long as possible, but by doing so you end up filtering in one after the other or having these split fights. What that means is Queso actually pick up a bunch of kills, get the tower, and now are right in time for Ghostwing. Now what could have happened there if they had fought less over it is you concede the tower, defend the inner tower, force Queso to recall and take the 5-on-5 instead of a 5 versus 3 and then a 5 versus 2. It takes very clear decision making for a team to make that, especially when behind, because you're trying to scrap for everything. But that's something that I'm really looking forward to teams actually kind of prioritizing is, hey, we don't have to fight here. Let's reset the game, try and take a fight on our own terms. Difficult to do from behind, but teams will start to pick it up.
The one thing I've only just noticed, and, you know, apologies for the delay, that is a weapon power Samuel coming out of Hundor. Really just trying to be a split push presence as much as possible here, it seems. Have to see how that does play out in the late game. Weapon power Samuel not as strong in the late game as he is in the early game. There's going to be an Oblivion going out here. Looks like Equinox might actually want this fight, but they can't get in range. And look, Techno JJ just poking over the wall, and Luga really is not enjoying it. Techno
It's interesting. There's so many different and kind of slightly different interesting builds that I wasn't even looking for the Samuel to have a different one. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be fine. It's Samuel with AoE damage. It's going to be great.
I mean, it means that this Black Claw is just falling so quickly as Hundor is able to pretty much auto-attack it straight down. And Equinox know they can't really contest with Luga's health bar. So that's going to be a Black Claw unleashed onto the map at 12 minutes for Team Queso. They've already done some groundwork in the mid lane. This could just be the armory going down and potentially the end of the game.
Yeah, I guess interestingly from Queso, they don't have a kind of a primary ranged weapon power carry, but they've got a lot of damage in the kit as it is. Adagio has damage, the Samuel has damage from a range as well, so maybe that's what it was, the decision to try and offset some of that.
This is incredible damage coming out of just Techno JJ alone, and PRZ setting it all up. There it is, boom, on to Baby Group Part 2. That Kestrel did not stand a chance. Turret's going to fall here, and Equinox missing a member. This is devastating for them. Good damage coming out of Jiraxis, keeping them all hooked up. A brilliant Churnwalker stun, and PRZ will lose his life. Maybe enough to push Team Queso back, but Hundo on the front line having fun with this weapon power, Samuel. The Black Claw will fall, but so will this armory with a Spitfire from Techno JJ. Queso are able to complete their quest. Taking down the armory makes the job so much easier.
And the important thing for the beginning of that sequence was the fact that Hundo was actually up in the top side, pushed the wave through to try and make sure they could get the top tower, or at least stack a minion wave up there, and they had a big minion wave stacked bottom lane, so it gave them multiple options. Unfortunately, losing both the Black Claw and then a member means that Queso have to make the decision to back away. It is the right decision to make at that point. There is no point over-forcing a game where you basically feel confident that you are so far ahead. It's an easy closeout, so it'll be Ghostwing into an attempted push to close this one, and that should be how Queso look to end the game. Now for Equinox, they need to somehow get this poke down from a range and then have a fight go their way where this AoE damage comes out, but it's so difficult. So difficult when you don't know where Queso is.
So caught out. Look at that. Oh no, Baby Groot is dead straight up. Tyra's with a beautiful ultimate. And now Equinox are on the run. Team Queso want to finish this one out, and Safantu will be the next victim, followed by Jiraxis. Only Luga and Alex SS left alive, and Team Queso won't make that for long as Luga frontlines. PRZ will knock him back. It's a double for Techno, and that will be the end of this game. Only Alex S left alive. The triple kill, and ace comes through for Team Queso, and at 15 minutes they will do the dirty deed. Vein Crystal explodes, and Queso continues its EU dominance.
I like it. They knew Equinox were going to come through to the Ghostwing. It was the obvious play, so they just set up the bait, they set up the bush, pick them off, and end the game. Really strong performance out of Queso today.
Really strong performance indeed. Equinox do better than last time, able to defend out a whole minute and a half against Team Queso here. So definitely we're seeing improvement from Equinox, but we have to just admit Team Queso just looks stronger and stronger week in and week out. And with that game under their belts, they're going to be looking strong for EU. We've got a desk ready to break that one down, so let's see what they have to say.
Business as usual for Team Queso, it seems. Every time one of these lower-seeded teams starts to build up a little momentum, it feels like Clash or Queso are right there to slap them back down. I mean, again, just Queso showing their dominance in Europe.
Definitely slow and steady, very well executed. The macro play was exactly really what we expected out of Queso. We are gonna get it. This is a Queso highlight. I know it says Clash, but this is Team Queso. They looked very good. This was their push with the Black Claw into the base. Once you penetrate like that, once you take down the armory, it makes it that much easier to just go on through and execute exactly how it needs to be done.
Yeah, it was a good game for Case overall. See some of the chat reaction. Say, where's the first baby Groot? And Tyra's legit only plays Alpha or Kroll. I mean, if it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Lane Grace, go, go, go. It's what we've been seeing a lot of the times from these players. So definitely no real surprises there. But one thing that was surprising is we got to see Kroll on the rise. Kroll, of course, has a brand new skin in-game, Samurai Kroll. And if you would like to get your hands on that skin for free, you tweet using the hashtag VPL and tag one of your friends, and you will be entered to win our drawing for a free unlock of the Samurai Kroll skin. We have 2 winners left to announce for this weekend, one at the end of our European broadcast, one at the end of the North American broadcast. So make sure you tune in, get involved on social media. Well, we're getting ready for our very next game. This is another big one. Rising Lotus going head-to-head against Clash. We've got the draft completed. We'll see what the picks and bans looked like. As we see, the top is Rising Lotus. On the bottom side, we have Clash's composition. And Flash, what jumps out to you here?
Has got to be how diverse both of these comps are. It's a lot of the same traditional meta. We have Rona in the mix, which is not something we've seen too much out of Europe thus far. That's definitely going to be something that Rising Lotus is going to want to look to make sure is in the front line, absorbing a lot of the burst damage coming out of the Samuel when he sits in the back line with those drifting darks, just putting out a ton of AoE damage.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to be looking at actually the Tony and Lyra, which one of those two is going to be the carry. I feel like I'd lean a little bit towards the Lyra just because it's more range and teams typically want to emphasize the ranged heroes, but that would then be putting them into likely a triple crystal composition because we've seen the Idris be crystal power so frequently. Over on the other side, of course, we have the Sky that could go weapon or crystal as well. Because they have Adagio and Alpha and Samuel, I'm expecting a weapon Sky to be the decision here for the side of Clash, and that's one of these heroes that can take off and just completely control a game.
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely think that because they already have the Celeste and the Idris, it will be that roam Lyra. Tony probably going to be in the jungle. We've seen a little bit of it in the top lane. It'll be really interesting to see kind of how they put it together, but Rising Lotus has to make sure that their macro play is on point if they want to compete with how clean Clash has been throughout the entire preseason.
Yeah, well, one of the players that we've been keeping our eyes on throughout the season on Rising Lotus, we're going to continue to do so here today. Our player to watch for the side of Rising Lotus is going to be Keanu Nakoa.
He has looked very strong in a lot of their wins, not as great in some of their losses. If he can find an opening to really execute his high-level mechanics, that's going to be super important for Rising Lotus to come out on top. He sees just a very small, very brief opening, and he goes for it and absolutely capitalizes on it.
He made the switch this year from captain to the jungler and has been able to have a pretty heavy impact on this team. Again, is he going to be playing the Tony this time around? Perhaps just based on what they've drafted, it's a very high probability, and we could be seeing that jungle Tony come out, and we'll get to see what kind of impact he has. A lot of these captains, or former captains that have made this switch to other roles, have been liking to play these heroes that can be flexed into captain role. You know, Max Green in particular comes to mind over in North America, so there's that definitely that potential to take what you know from playing as a captain and translate it into playing as a carry.
Absolutely. There's so many different mechanics that translate from the captain position into these carry roles. If you just channel that, it sets a great foundation for mastering these heroes. And even though Tony wasn't on the Halcyon Fold back in 3v3, Keanu Nakoa still understands how those roles are played. They're very tanky. They're always in the front line, peeling for your teammates. A lot of utility in Tony's kit, even as a carry, with the taunt, with the stun, with the bada boom for just disrupting team fights. That has to be something that he looks to capitalize on here today.
And that's going to be, again, like you said, something that translation, the similar play style between a captain and a bruiser is very much prevalent. And, Tony is also one of the most picked and banned heroes in the entire region. These are the top 4 heroes that in terms of their draft usage across all of Europe. Obviously, you see Reza there, one of the big ones that we've been seeing a lot in Europe, but Tony, Celeste, and Alpha actually making a presence in the top 4.
It's definitely shocking to see Alpha in that top 4. I think it's equally shocking to see that none of these heroes have 100% usage like you do see in North America. So Europe very comfortable with playing different play styles. All teams have a unique look and perspective of which heroes are strong, and understanding when to use these heroes is definitely a huge factor going into the success of a team's draft.
Yeah, and that's something that, hopefully we'll get to look at that draft once again and see kind of where the different heroes were picked, which ones were banned away to kind of lead towards what they ended up going for. You can see once again that Reza was banned away this time. I'm very happy to see that Reza, it's one of those things where when a hero is making as much of an impact as he is, for it to go through a draft and not be picked or banned, it just kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit and say, why aren't these teams focusing this hero? That's why it's kind of, like you mentioned, very surprising that none of those heroes have 100% draft usage, because it means at some point both teams were just like, no, Celeste isn't that important. We don't need to have her. So the fact that you see these top heroes in the draft, even if it's in a banned position, is just, it's good to see across the board.
He's so slippery and can be used in so many different ways in these team fights, whether it's going in, being a distraction, getting back out. So much burst damage. There's no mage that is safe on these back lines in order to be going for them.
All right, well, we are now ready to get into the game. We're going to send it over to Stress and Dowsy to call the action.
This is the matchup of the day. Rising Lotus taking on Clash here in the European VPL Preseason Invitational. Yesterday we saw a revitalized Rising Lotus roster really take the punches to Team Queso, and against Clash they're going to be looking to do the same. Doom's also caught out. This might just be first blood early. He is going very low. Oh no, Solicitude. Ooh, that was close. All right, Stress, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I very quickly had to jump to I'm the Doom. I wasn't expecting that in mid lane, and neither were Solicitude and Sneaky by the looks of it. Couldn't quite convert it into a kill, but look, I think this one, considering how Clash's last few games have gone, I think this one is going to be a bloodbath once again, because look, Clash, they've been playing very well, but also very loose, very quick, trying to look for those skirmishes again and again, and it's happening all across the map. There's at least 2 little fights over the weapon treants for now. Kiana and Okoa getting forced away from theirs on the bottom side.
Whoop, that's going to be secure, but first blood coming over to I Am the Doom. He's able to take Sneaky out. On the bottom side of the map, Kiana Okoa is able to secure the weapon treant for Rising Lotus. So it is going to be kill and objectives traded here. I say objectives traded. It's secured, really, when you look at it from the point of view of Rising Lotus.
Yeah, secured for Rising Lotus. It looked like Sneaky, I don't think he went under the tower, but I saw the tail end of that. He was chasing down I'm the Doom once again, trying to pick up that kill, that tasty kill on about 10 health, but couldn't end up doing it. And Rising Lotus dropped the first kill in that mid lane, and now we have to see where the game transitions from. The desk talked a lot about these hero picks. We've got Sneaky going the weapon Tony at the moment. We've got the Celeste on the side. We've got the Lyra. Lots of these strong picks finding Rising Lotus. I want to see what they can do with them up against a team as strong as Clash.
I mean, last time these teams faced off, it was Team Clash taking a victory in just 13 minutes over Rising Lotus. But this team is solidified with, new members coming onto the team, Sneaky and Cracks joining up. This is a roster that really could be feared as a third or even second place contender. Really, I think this matchup against Clash will decide whether or not Rising Lotus can contest that second place spot. At the moment, Clash seem a little bit more disciplined is what I want to say. There's been some strong criticism from myself particularly that their games seem to be getting scrappier and scrappier. However, when you're at the top, maybe you try to do more things. This is the Preseason Invitational after all. You're trying to test things out, and when the games become more important, that's when you start to really bring the big guns.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm trying not to be too overly harsh on Clash, but this now is a 4 versus 2 in the bottom side. There's a stun.
And Kara's just completely caught out. A 4-man gank into the bot side to find a kill for themselves. Kara in that bot side or top side as he would be playing it for Clash. With Agony back on the roster, it means that he's in the jungle, and Kara transitions to the lane.
So that play from Rising Lotus was well timed. They managed to come down through their own jungle, and they were catching the end of a ward from Leon and the rest of Clash down in the bottom side. Leon was moving out to ward back up, and just the unfortunate timing from Clash's side means they end up getting caught in a 4 versus 2. But now it's Clash trying to clutch out Rising Lotus here on the top side.
Yeah, this is going to be Solicitude completely caught out. He used his core collapse on the camp, trying to secure it, and really that is a fairly decent mistake. You want to be saving that CC for the fight. Krax does move in to help out Nomad, jumps out immediately. Nomad is in a lot of trouble, taking so much damage from I'm the Doom. It looks like Clash are done with that fight. They're going to roam into the jungle and see if there's any pickings they can take.
Yeah, at this point, it's once again reestablished on those scout cams, which is easier to do than say, apparently, at this point, because Clash, at this point, they've got a good lead. They're going to move in for the Crystal Treant once again. Clash, they do this so well. They move in as a unit, look for these objectives, and then just move back away, see if they can get a kill. But it's not always about the kills. You know, you've got to transition between objectives.
There's a lot of damage coming out onto Solicitude here. You know, for those who may not know who Solicitude is, a player formerly known as Zoom, actually about 8 months ago was saying to I'm the Doom, I want to get good enough to become a pro player in Europe, and here he is facing off in the mid lane against his hero Doom. I'm the Doom's in a bit of trouble here, taking so much poke from Kiana Nakoa, but look at the amount of damage he's popping back out. There's Malice and Verdict just doing so much work. He only has a crystal bit, a heavy prism I should say. It's not like he's got items stacked up. Agni's moving into the lane here. He's got level 6 as well. Ultimate's ready to go. He might be needed to use it. Going super low as Kiana Nakoa throws that chakram out. Leon, everyone chained up. Sneaky coming around the backside, but I don't think Rising Lotus are in a position to fight realistically. Their damage deal is just chunked out a little bit too much.
If I'm remembering correctly, Leon played this Churnwalker back in week 2 or 3 and looked really strong on it. Like it looked like the chains were basically point and click abilities at that point. And you know, it's an interesting hero for him if he can control it. We're seeing a lot of fighting once again around the map. I want to see whether Leon can have the same kind of performance here on this Churnwalker. See if he can actually set up the fights quite as effectively here, because it doesn't look like Rising Lotus are giving them as many skirmishes as we've seen before, and that's something I like out of Rising Lotus.
Yeah, no, for sure. Right now, it feels like Rising Lotus are doing their job of just trying to keep the rivers in vision and just really respecting the roams that Clash can pull out in just a heartbeat. Sneaky, though, in the top side, in a bit of trouble. Takes a bit of poke for himself. Looks like it is going to be Krax also trying his best to stop this Ghost Wing from happening. A Solar Storm rips through, but it's far too late. Nomad could look for the steal with the Sigil. Gonna pop it over the wall. Going low. He steals it! Nomad, you're a god!
It was yesterday that Rising Lotus stole 2 Ghost Wings during the game as well. They're making a habit about this.
Nomad able to block up an Oblivion, and that Series Strike coming out of Clash, just really rubbing salt in the wound. The Weapon Treant gets stolen for Solicitude here. Potentially probably should have gone to Kiana Nakoa, but Clash, they seem a little bit lost after that Ghost Wing still. They don't know how to make of it. Sneaky, gonna move in, stuns up Agony, looking for the taunt. It comes out, Agony pulled back in, and the ultimate was not popped. He will be rebooting, however, and should be able to escape, you feel. Not enough CC to keep Agony locked up.
And it's now back and forth in an even gold game between these two. And Rising Lotus, they had been looking pretty shaky a few weeks back. Now they, with this updated roster, have taken a very hard game to both top of the table teams. Now there's another fight.
This time Solicitude will just fall down. Nomad Vagabond will be left to try and escape, but without a portal, it's going to be difficult. There's Sigil for the speed. Looks like he is going to go very low, but able to escape, and now Krax, he is spinning to win on 3 people, but not going to commit to that fight too much. It doesn't quite have the Serpent's Mask or Breaking Point really at all to be able to take that one.
Yeah, not yet. Needs a little extra time on that. And here comes the follow-up push into the mid lane from Clash. Going to clear the minions out, move back down towards that bottom side, secure their orbs for themselves, and kind of reset this game. That, I think, was a very key exchange for Clash. I was starting to feel like they didn't really know the next step of the game, and that skirmish could very well pay off. But look, they're still unhealthy from taking that last fight.
Yeah, Crucible to block up the Oblivion. I'm the Doom, so healthy and got so much damage to his name. Got that Spellfire to tick the damage through. Agony to tank the turret up, but Clash are going to start falling back. Sneaky, at this point, just proxying a lane. And oh my god, Nomad! Just portals throwing the Doom under the turret, but no one was ready for it. I wasn't ready for it. And it looks like Nomad will not be able to get the juicy kill that he was looking for there. Those plays are so spicy when they come out. Just a shame that Solicitude couldn't follow it up. And now looks like Clash going to take this mid lane turret, take Nomad's life, and continue their lead.
Yeah, important there that Clash are able to crack that turret. It lets them now transition between lanes very effectively. Leon is going to find cracks, but at this point, Carl not quite in position. Will get that pullback, though. Maybe they're going to actually go for this fight. Agony's roaming down as well.
Yeah, Krax does not have the breaking point to stack up. That ultimate comes out, but it's far too late to heal him up. And that is going to be Krax caught out completely. 5-1 in Clash. Far more consistent in their play, really being disciplined where they roam and what fights they're taking here, Stress.
Yeah, I think maybe yesterday's game was a bit of a shock to the system in kind of how scrappy and close at times it was. So maybe Clash coming back and saying, "Hey, okay, let's calm it down just a little bit."
No, man, no.
I saw it come out and I was like, "Uh-oh, is he done it again?" And not quite, but certainly this is cleaner out of Clash. I'm kind of happier watching this game where they're transitioning very well.
The thing is, Clash have that information from the game yesterday with Team Queso versus Rising Lotus to really show the respect to the Rising Lotus squad and try and shut down any attempts they make to take a lead out here. So Clash playing from ahead. Rising Lotus yesterday were playing from ahead against Queso, but now they're defending. And this is a big turret push coming out on the bot side. Will go down that tier 2 and tier 1. In the mid lane, they're able to find a turret here, Rising Lotus, but I'm not sure they can find any more. Krax will fall under his tier 3. That armory turret now going to be under fire. This Ghost Wing buff so strong. And Sneaky's continuing to push up in the top side. Doesn't look like Rising Lotus want to defend this at all. They are just going to allow armory turrets to fall, armories to fall as well. Kiana and Koa can't hold this with Nomad. That's going to be a 3 objective push. Nomad trying to start the fight, but here comes Leon to solidify them. Solicitude's too far gone to be able to get into this one, and I'm the Doom just takes Kiana Koa's life. It is going to be Clash retreating out of the base now. They've done the damage. Sneaky able to find that tier 2 in the top side, but it just doesn't feel worth it at that point, Stress.
So I'm going to give I'm the Doom the credit here on this one, using the portal twice during that fight to actually avoid a lot of damage. Despite the fact it was putting himself back in the enemy base even further. So, you know, good utilization of even the enemy abilities to kind of jump around the fight, keep himself alive, and that's what allows Clash to kind of move through the base, get that armory, and now retreat back out, look to reset. Top outer tower is still alive. That is likely to be the next point for them because there's no global objectives up yet. We're 30 seconds away just under from that Black Claw, so open up the damage top side.
Oh my god, Solicitude! I can't see him, he got deleted! Clash just completely destroy that Celeste, and right now Solicitude is struggling up against Clash's roster. 0 and 3 at this point, really the one that Clash are focusing in on. Sneaky going to get stunned up under his outer turret. Agony comes in. It is going to be a Crucible to block that taunt up. Sneaky, can he escape? No ultimate to split the damage, and no, he will just fall. Clash find another kill for themselves. This outer turret, not long for this world, you have to feel.
Yeah, now they're even turning attention onto the Black Claw to try and take that down. You can see just pushing out the top side to keep Krax and Nomad Vagabond up there. Leon's even going to go for it himself, put himself in harm's way just to ensure there's enough space around the Black Claw that they're able to take it down. Looking at Solicitude, seeing if he could get in range at the time, but that is the Black Claw going over to Clash, and Clash in full control of this game. This is perhaps the best they have looked since week 1.
Yeah, this is actually really strong play coming out of Clash here. Respect shown to Rising Lotus. They've got their full man roster here, something that they did not have in their matchup against Queso, and oh, Sneaky is just completely caught, will fall down. Net-to-let diving onto Solicitude, finds the kill. It is going to be Krax jumping away from the fight, and Nomad left in no man's land. Black Claw onto this armory turret in the mid lane. Nomad in trouble as he portals away, but just provides way onto both Keanu and himself. Nomad goes down. Keanu on the Sanctuary trying to heal up, but he's only half healthy. Armory will fall here at the 13-minute mark, and Clash continue their dominance. It is going to be Keanu going low. Cracks trying to spin to win, gets pulled back and will fall. Agony in the Sanctuary, maybe not where he wants to be, but Sneaky gives him a helping hand. And at 13.5 minutes, Clash show why they are so strong in Europe, reminding us all that they are a contender here, taking down Rising Lotus in true dominance style.
1 kill goes over to Rising Lotus that game, and that was so much cleaner from Clash, considering that's a lot of the criticism we've had for them. Is it's been sloppy? Absolutely not today. Rising Lotus put up a good fight in the early game, but Clash just dominate the rest of the game.
Absolutely great stuff out of Clash to see them back on top, and their macro game looked clean. Let's hear what Tasty Bacon and Flash make of that.
With that win, Clash and Queso both guarantee themselves the top 2 spots in the preseason for Europe. So great job. Congratulations to both of them. And once again, just showing that they are the dominant teams in this region.
Clash looking back to their old selves, basically, in that dominant fashion. It was so good to see Leon back into that captain role. Maybe that's the missing ingredient. Maybe that's what they needed to have against Queso. But the push into the base, even though Sneaky is up trying to equalize in the top lane, once Clash is into the base, they're going on the Armory, winning that huge team fight. That is definitely Leon's call, keeping all of them on the same page, executing it very well.
All right, well, again, very strong showing from Clash. And we get ready for our next game. You see PT Lamb, he's got himself ready for their next game with the most OP gaming chair I think I've ever seen. Sitting there for PT Lamb, getting himself prepped and ready to go. We'll see if he's going to be able to help his team get to victory as we go up Salty Potatoes, taking on the side of Wolves Esports. We got a little bit of a preview of this earlier today. Here's the picks and bans. The draft had been completed earlier. See the top side, Salty Potatoes, on the bottom, Wolves Esports, and that Reza coming through.
Definitely an interesting draft. We have Lorelei, we have Batiste again. We haven't seen Batiste in a while. Koshka, and then on the other side, we do have the Reza finally in the mix. And we're not going to be seeing Kigaza on that Vox that he's so comfortable with. It was definitely something that Salty Potatoes banned away. I think that was really smart out of their part. Should be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the problems with having that one hero that you look significantly better with is teams are just going to start not allowing that to go through. They're going to take it away from you, force you onto these other heroes so that you have to step up and try and perform with heroes that you haven't shown that you are quite as strong with. I'm going to look at the head-to-head between these two teams. You see, just on the stats alone, Salty Potatoes with an advantage in every single meaningful stat.
They have definitely looked considerably better than Wolves Esports. We've definitely seen some glimmers of hope out of them. There's still time. There's still time before the regular season starts. These teams are making sure that they're getting back to basically where they need to be at by the time things get very serious. That's part of the growing process. It's natural. It takes time. They just need to make sure that they're keep making strides forward.
Yeah, and of course the roster changes, and we've seen a lot of these teams, especially in Europe, shuffling around their rosters, trying to, shuffling around roles even amongst their roster just to try and figure out what works best for them, what will give them the best opportunity to secure victories when we do get to the regular season. That's what they've been working on. But, we mentioned we kind of teased this matchup a little bit before. Aeon had some words.
This Sunday we'll be facing Wolves Esports. And as for Wolves, they don't really have any individually very mechanically skilled players, and therefore we should just capitalize on the individual skill, I feel like. And if we can just beat them up in that aspect, we should have the game pretty easily in our hands. And I would just kind of like to wish them good luck, because in all honesty, I feel like they would need it.
Aeon, again, very, very confident. Some strong words saying, individual mechanical matchups, we will just beat them in terms of just pure mechanical play and be able to take victory that way. We'll see if that's what they'll be able to do. Obviously, that's what every team wants to do. They want to be able to just mechanically outplay their opponents. They want to just beat them in the 1v1s in the lane and just snowball into that large lead when it comes to the team fights. So that's the goal. It's a matter of will that be executed, because Salty Potatoes, they've been struggling a little bit of late.
Absolutely. Strong words, absolutely. confidence is always good, but you don't want to be overly confident. And if you are going to make those comparisons, you need to make sure that you're ready to back it up. And if Salty Potatoes don't clean it up, they are at risk for losing this game.
Yeah, obviously, it's a matchup that, it's pretty important for them to keep that momentum or regain some of the momentum that they had earlier. And if you want to get yourself involved in the discussion, obviously we've talked about Twitter, the giveaways. You can also check out our Instagram. Follow us at Vainglory Esports. We have plenty of behind the scenes footage, some exclusive footage and pictures and such being posted there pretty frequently. And so it's definitely a great thing to check out. One of the things you can see on the Instagram is some previews of the new studio that we'll be moving to.
Vainglory Competitive Gaming has a new home in Las Vegas, the Aria Resort and Casino. The PokerGo studio, in partnership with ESP Gaming, the name behind the Vainglory Premier League. A state-of-the-art, multi-million-dollar showplace, streaming lounge, and the most advanced tech to bring you mobile esports like never before. Welcome to the new home for the Vainglory Premier League.
So excited to get to that new studio for the regular season. Unbelievable venue. It's going to be amazing. Obviously, we're in the temporary studio. We have the green screen. You've seen it plenty of times. It's not what we want to be bringing as our final product. That's going to be coming in the regular season. It's going to be insane.
I am definitely ready to get out of the green screen studio, see the real studio for sure. I kind of like that we are saving it for the regular season.
Our production crew has had enough fun with us being on the green screen this preseason. I can't wait till we're at the regular studio so that's no longer the case.
You didn't like Wrestler Tasty Bacon? Nah, but seriously, it should be so good. Definitely taking things to an all-new level. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely can't wait. And, of course, that's the regular season coming up. We will be still here next week. Our production crew will still have, I'm sure, plenty of surprises for us for the final week of the preseason. We're waiting for just a couple of these players to get ready. Maybe, PT Lamb he looked like he was balancing pretty precariously on that workout bench. So, hopefully he's okay and we can get everything underway. But taking a look at our draft for this game, one of the things that I think also needs to be kind of mentioned is Arden getting banned away. Is something that we haven't really been seeing too much, is that focus on the captains.
Yeah, that's definitely super interesting. I think another thing important to note, though, is looking at Salty Potatoes' composition, who is going where? I'm assuming the Lorelei is going to be in that captain position, but then you have 3 junglers. Who's jungling? Who's going in which lanes? You're going to have 2 heroes. I definitely think we'll see Batiste in the lane. But that means that it's either going to be a Koshka lane or a Crow lane.
I mean, the Crow lane is something that we saw a little bit in 3v3. PvP Warrior was a player that was playing that very frequently in the Challengers. But, of course, the Koshka, you could make an argument to put her in the lane. I would feel like the Crow would be the best fit because you get a Book of Eulogies and you can sustain by just getting those last hits and not have to worry about it. But it leads me to believe that they're going to be looking to start those rotations very, very quickly because the lane matchups are not necessarily going to be in their favor, especially when you look at who they're going to be up against on the other side. Adagio, Scarf, and very likely either Alpha or Reza. I would assume the Reza. Those are 3 winning lane matchups against what Salty Potatoes are bringing to the table.
If Cruel ends up in a lane where he's not against the Reza, it's going to be so important for whoever the carries are on Wolves that they are not stepping up too far, because with this brush in these side lanes, Kroll can trade so well with the opposing laner. He gets that passive, he goes and he does a ton of damage, and then he just smites and goes back to full health regardless of what the exchange is. That's something,
especially if you have that Book of Eulogies.
Absolutely.
Get that smite, get a last hit or 2, all of a sudden he's back to full health after a trade. So we're going to find out how this is going to plan out when we get onto the Rise with Dowsy and Stress.
Salty Potatoes and Wolves here looking to try and find a win in the final weeks of this European VPL Preseason Invitational. Wolves potentially getting stronger and stronger each week, but still sitting in that last position. Stress. Salty Potatoes are trying to reform after a roster shuffle.
Yeah, and the roster shuffle it was kind of a necessary one after we had that kind of weird phase where they swapped a bunch of people around, but it seems to have kind of solidified itself a little bit with exactly how they have been. Yesterday was, again, a slightly better performance out of them than we've come to expect from the weeks 3 and 4, perhaps. But, you know, at this point, I'm looking towards Aeon. I'm looking towards, you know, Riorin in this game to see exactly how it goes. He's playing one of my favorite captains in Lorelei, so interesting. We don't see a lot of Lorelei at all, but good on the defensive standpoint. Good to kind of kite back.
He has attempts to steal there, but not quite able to find the damage with the tick. A little bit of timing it's really needed to try and steal, but currently Wolves trying their best to pressure here onto Salty Potatoes, stealing away camps underneath the noses of Salty Potatoes and really going unpunished for it as well.
Yep, unpunished for now. There is a chase all the way through the topside jungle though, so we have to kind of watch out how this one goes. Here comes Crazy up into the fray, and that really should spell the end here. The numbers being even between two teams means that Riorin, already losing a bunch of health, has to be very careful here. Only one ability is his only level 1, so very tough to actually take these fights.
Yeah, and no CC, but oh, boom! First blood, Aceroid's on the board! Double kill comes out for Aceroid there. Impressive stuff. Just hit that level 2, could Prime Directive in. Now jumping onto Imagination here. Doesn't quite hit his Prime Directive this time, and that will be the end of that one, but that is a lot of damage at level 2 for Alpha.
Yeah, massive damage coming out, and Wolves taking full control of that early situation. And this game has started off pretty much in the way they've dictated. They go for the aggressive play into the jungle, try and steal as much as they can, and we've got to kind of switch focus again. We've got to go back to something we talked about yesterday. It's Redix coming in, former G2 player. He's on this scarf. I've heard so much about him. Yesterday wasn't exactly the best showing out of him. The rest of the team couldn't really gel as they needed everyone to for Wolves. So now I want to see what he can do in this match. This is a matchup that should be a lot closer than yesterday's matchup. So certainly a player to watch for us on Wolves.
Yeah, Redix on that scarf. He played it yesterday. PT Lamb at the moment trying to put the pressure on to Redix and Cryzior in that bot side jungle. Really, against a Koshka, very difficult to play. You can see the damage that's coming out from Salty Potatoes as they continue to pressure in this middle side. It seems like their pressure is focused towards Redix here. You know, he's back. It's his second game competitively after a year hiatus, and it feels like pressure Redix, maybe you find some kills, but oh my gosh, PT Lamb completely catches out Paprika. The top side Imagination's not having too much fun either. Salty Potatoes really trying to hold Wolves at bay.
Yeah, PT Lamb and Viking finding Paprika as he was trying to move back towards his tower, but couldn't get there in time. Of course, difficult to get away from that Baptiste-Koshka combination once they have their sights set on you. And at this point, that's kind of a good bonus here. Draws the game somewhat even for Salty Potatoes. And this is kind of an awkward start to this game compared to most. We've had Wolves dictate the early game. Now Salty Potatoes are trying to look to do a similar thing as they're trying to get back into this. And Crazy Orc going to pull back PT Lamb and try and focus this game. But it's kind of another one of these loose games. It's not quite uniform from both teams.
Yeah, and Salty Potatoes still experimenting with roles for their team. You know, yesterday we saw PTM, the mid lane. It's always playing lane generally for whatever teams he plays for. But this time he switches into the jungle, lets Aeon take the lane, so potentially just trying to switch it up. Aceroid, just barely missing a Prime Directive onto Imagination. That would have doomed him to death, I'm sure. And this Cruel in the top side for Imagination, an interesting one. We don't often see Cruel lane. Usually you have him in the jungle. At the moment, I'm not really feeling it.
I think it's a fair question as to like Krull lane why in 5v5, because Krull has this great strength in mobility, utilizing the passive early on, then you use the A to get into lane and set up ganks, but I suppose it's not quite as simple as solo queue is with Krull, where most people are overextending, so I wonder whether they just want to get a little bit of gold generation on Imagination. I mean, there is decent gold out of the jungle, especially with the passive gold that comes through, but certainly it is a question that I want to see whether more teams opt towards this, or whether it's something that just Salty Potatoes are really doing.
I mean, when Krull's left open, it seems silly not to pick it. You already have such a strong jungler in that Koshka. You can see Salty Potatoes going to team up and push that turret down. It's going to take a lot of damage before Kigaza and Aceroid can actually get there, and Riren's going to spot them rotating as well. Turret will fall first of the game, and now PT Lamb jumping on into the fight. Kigaza and Aceroid both level 6. This is a massive disadvantage. Fountain comes out. Great route from Riren to keep PT Lamb alive for now, but now Imagination will be caught in no man's land. Jumping back in is PT Lamb. Aceroid pops that ultimate, completely taking out Imagination there, and that should be PT Lamb and Riren trying to fall back as much as possible. Under their turret, Riren down to half HP will be able to escape. This turret very low. Does look like here they will be able to clear the lane for now.
Yeah, they're going to push up with that next wave of minions. The mid lane is also getting pushed because Redix on the Scarf has been able to just push it out constantly. And now they're going to turn their attention there. There's just basically map advantages all across the board when you look at it for Wolves. They're not quite in the lead of gold, but once these towers fall, they will be. Kigaza actually couldn't get that wave safely through. It looked like Salty Potatoes risky staying around, but they managed to push the wave back, deter the objective control of Wolves, and what looked to be the moment for them to take the gold lead actually ends up kind of being stifled by decent defensive play out of Salty Potatoes.
Right at the moment, Paprika seems to be struggling against Viking. Batiste always been a really good counter for Reza historically. Makes a lot of sense to pop him in the lane against him. Reza wants to be mobile, so you chuck that prism down and really just keep him locked up. And right now, Paprika, you know, he's got that level disadvantage. He's got the health disadvantage. Will be able to escape, but that is an ultimate used defensively. It's not really what you want. Now PT Lamb roaming down to the lane. This could mean that the turret gets pushed in.
Yeah, he was kind of greedily looking to try and secure the healing tree. The healing tree for himself. Now Wolves mid lane once again gets de-pushed by Salty Potatoes. So the top tower did fall in favor of Wolves during that sequence. So they have secured themselves a gold lead. Now it's equalized with the bottom tower going down in favor of Salty Potatoes. So Wolves trying to set up around this Ghost Wing a little bit, but look at how Salty Potatoes are closing in on the mid lane with all 5 members. Now Reza is shown in the bottom lane. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fight here.
Yeah, looks like they want it. There goes PT Lamb jumping on in, or Fearsome Shade knocks 2 back. PT Lamb, huge damage onto him, forces a Fountain out of Riren, and with that you would think that Salty Potatoes no longer want this engage. Viking is roaming up, but he's also half HP. Wolves might just take this opportunity to secure themselves a Ghost Wing. With that Scarf, with that Alpha, they take it so quickly. Potential for a steal from Viking as he chucks it over, but doesn't quite find it. Will be secured for Wolves here. Salty Potatoes will take the mid lane turret as revenge. Or not.
Oh, not quite. One more hit.
There it is.
There it is. There it is. The ultimate thrown out, I would call worth at that point.
If Riren loses his life here, the Spitfire connects. He should burn. Burn? He's not going to burn, baby burn. He's going to survive. I do have to say, Redix's Scarf looks a little bit more consistent today. Hasn't leveled up his ultimate. It was something that was a little strange from Redix, how often he used the Dragon's Breath, which on 3v3 was very prevalent. The Dragon's Breath often getting used, but here in 5v5, it's just not had as much impact, even though on 3.2 it did get reworked and buffed a little bit. Not going to level up this time, really just trying to get that overdrive onto his AMV as quickly as possible. Imagination attempting the great escape. Can he find it is the question. He's coming to the help of Viking. Prika able to secure that turret. Aceroid, he was right next to you!
Did he not have vision?
He did have vision around the corner. Fog of War is a beautiful thing. That's got to feel bad for Aceroid.
Yeah, that feels really bad for Aceroid. Oh, that was like, must have been like a pixel or 2 away from being in vision. So a lot of trade there on the side of towers. We've seen more fall in favor of Salty Potatoes. It's tough when you've got this Baptiste, this Krull, both trying to just push towers down as fast as possible, and the whole outer ring has now fallen for Wolves. Now there's a fight in the bottom side jungle.
Yeah, it is going to be Aceroid jumping on in. So much damage to PT Lamb already. The ultimate will come out. A Fearsome Shade pops and a Solar Storm rips through. Goodbye, Aceroid. Paprika won't be able to save you. Gets locked up in the Yummy Company Friends, and he will fall a double kill for that. Batiste looking for more as Chrysol tries to escape, but he cannot. He's falling at this point. Fountain will keep him alive for half a second as Kigaza gets onto this Celeste, but I don't think he can find the kill. Viking finds a third. Viking looking for more. Will be the kill going over to Imagination, and only Kigaza left alive. Cannot secure a kill just yet. Viking comes in, and Viking reaps havoc. PT Lamb will jump in and find the 5th kill of that fight. Not quite an ace, the respawns did come through, but very dominant from Salty Potatoes.
Yeah, very dominant fight out of Salty Potatoes. It doesn't add up to a lead for them by much in the gold, but look at what it's going to get them on the map. They're able to push out bot side, look through the jungle as well. Salty Potatoes can even look to maybe set up a pick. They've seen Reza in the top lane. If anybody drifts to try and get this lane, this wave in the bottom lane, this is going to be real tough. Crazior doesn't check into them. They're just going to push the tower. I think that's a better move in the end of all things. Like, get that objective down, don't just look for the pick, and now they can back away and reset themselves.
Yeah, Salty Potatoes really just like water onto a stone, chipping away at the Wolves roster. They've got a 2-turret lead. They're moving in for a Ghost Wing for themselves. The previous was secured by the Wolves, but they didn't really make much of it objectively. This could be really good for Salty Potatoes, who have been calling the shots in this game, and we'll go over to them. Fight may break out. Is the Yummy Captain Frenzy? Is just a stun lock for Kigaza. He's not escaping that one. 3 pieces of CC lock him up, and now Salty Potatoes can push that bot lane up. They already prepped it. Just an armory stands in their way with that turret.
Yeah, and of course, as you said, they had a few minions still there. Redix desperately trying to clear the wave before Salty Potatoes get there, but he's in trouble too.
Yeah, PT Lamb will dive in, but loses his life. I say that too preemptively. A good save comes out of Rearrun with that water wall, and now it is going to be Wolves attempting to push this lane back. Redix trying to get Spitfires from range. Does look like Salty Potatoes may just count their losses and not attempt too much here. A little bit risky with Kigaza back alive. Will steal away a Crystal Treant for themselves. We'll have to see how far away they want to walk away from this fight. They do have that Ghost Wing buff, remember. It's healing them all back up. They could look to turn at any second, Stress.
Yeah, they need to wait though. Baptiste is still doing the weapon treant on their own jungle, and at this point, that push got stalled because of the minion wave getting cleared by Redix, and then the next minion wave being a very weak one. You didn't have that large minion in the back to tank up a lot of the tower. Wolves going to make a very kind of Hail Mary play here at this point. They're going to go for the Black Claw and try and even this game back up. But it looks like Salty Potatoes aren't quite in position for it. Rearrun at least is going to give them vision for now. Maybe you can look for the steal if you can.
It's going to be Black Claw secured for Wolves, but here comes the fight from Salty Potatoes. Jumping onto Chrysal, Paprika escapes. Fountain's coming out, and a stun lock of Fearsome Shade knocking Wolves backwards. First kill is Chrysal, and now it's going to be Aeon losing his life. Asteroid losing his life as well. Paprika cannot escape, gets locked up. Only Kigaza and Redix left alive for the Wolves squad, but the Black Claw is pushing in that mid lane and will need to be responded by the Salty Potatoes squad.
So nice timing out of Wolves to know that they can get the objective. The difficulty there is the fact that Salty Potatoes say, okay, well, we've just been healed up through all of that Ghost Wing sequence, so let's just go and take the fight after they've got it. It doesn't even matter whether Black Claw takes down this middle tower. One tower is a fair price to pay in order to get 3 kills on the back end of that. It still is a trade in favor of Wolves, but it's a lot less damage than if that had been a Black Claw that was able to stay alive for a lot longer with people backing it up. So Salty Potatoes are going to try and reset, look towards the top half of the map, and try and take control of it.
Currently, Salty Potatoes roaming in on Asteroid's territory. They're not going to look for fights just yet. Setting up for this top turret push. Paprika is looking for Crystal Treants. Can't quite find them. Just trying to set up vision. That Ghost Wing will be spawning real soon. But look at the importance Wolves have put to the Ghost Wing pit. And look where Salty Potatoes are. 2 men are down at Ghost Wing. And Salty Potatoes are pushing their base. Maybe Wolves try and take this under the noses of Salty Potatoes backport and then get into the fight. But this is so risky. The armory turret is going to be sieged whilst Wolves attempt this. They really have to push back. This is a good front face from Wolves, but they can't overcommit to this fight. Fearsome Shade blocked up by Chrysal. Solar Storm will rip through Kigaza. But they've done the work here.
Yeah.
They've pushed Salty Potatoes back, and a Ghost Wing will be their prize.
And the important thing is here, it was a lapse in vision control down on the bottom. There were no scout cams in that Ghost Wing pit for Salty Potatoes. Kigaza's going for it. I think he'd maybe have seen 1 or 2 of the recalls thanks to the scout cams in the jungle for themselves.
Aeon's caught out here as well. Yeah, Paprika jumping onto this Celeste. Here comes PT Lamb around the side. Reddick's in trouble. Here comes the Cruel. Throwing the ult out, doesn't land. Paprika, though, going low. Chrysal pops the fountain, healing the team back up, and Reddick's charges up that Dragon's Breath straight into Viking. He will fall back. At the moment, Wolves just trying to find a single kill, but they can't quite finish off this fight. Currently controlling that Black Claw pit, but it's not ready to spawn yet. Salty Potatoes just going to fall back, and Wolves really not finding what they want.
It feels like this Wolves lineup has a good grasp of objective control when you look at the global objectives, the Black Claw, the Ghost Wing. It feels like they have good timing on that. The difficulty I think that they're running into is some of the skirmishes and the setup towards the global objectives. They've only secured 3 kills in this game because they haven't really been able to orchestrate the fights in the way they want them to. Now maybe they can force one down on the bottom side, but they will end up losing towers in the mid lane in exchange for this.
Potentially, we do see Wolves pushing down, and it looks like the rest of Salty Potatoes are trying to get in position to help Viking out. Will be a block coming through. Viking blocks up that churn ult. So much put onto killing Viking, and he's still alive. Huge stun comes out of rear end, and Salty Potatoes are winning the fight. Paprika loses his life, so does Ace-Royd, and that's going to be a 3rd kill coming through as the Churn Walker falls as well. Redix and Kigaz are left alive, standing, and will start to run as fast as they can down this bot side jungle. Great Spitfires connecting continuously. That Goop burning a Healed alive. Will have to fall back here, and Wolves will just about hold off, but so greedy at pushing down so far.
Yeah, I envisioned a situation where you get that first kill and then slowly look to move through the bottom lane tower, not try and dive behind the turret and try and get the kill. Like, Wolves overextending down through that bottom lane and get punished hard for it. Now Salty Potatoes once again back in full control here. They haven't got any scout cams around this Black Claw. That's the next step for them. We need to see them move in and actually secure that vision. But nobody is doing it yet. This is actually letting Wolves get away with murder at this point. Wolves can very easily set up for their own vision control here, which should not be happening when you're the team that are behind on map play like this.
Wolves engaging this fight, and Kigaz will be the first victim, not who you want to go down. PC Lamb will continue the chase. Ace-Royd is retreating. The Solar Storm rips through rear and finds that fish food stun once more. This is disastrous for Wolves. Asteroid trying to get onto the back line to blow them all up, but Paprika is losing his life. Fearsome Shade gets dodged, but it's not enough. That will be Paprika losing his life, followed by more. It's a bloodbath, and Salty Potatoes are the ones bathing in it as they take down the Churn Walker. Only Redix left alive. Finds a kill, his first of the game, and will be able to escape as well. Lots of damage done. Is it enough to deter Black Claw? I don't think so.
There's still 15 seconds on some of the death timers as well, so Salty Potatoes is saying, okay, maybe it's a little too easy to get picked off at the end of a Black Claw. They're going to go down to Ghost Wing, pick that up, get the regeneration for themselves, and then move out. The thing is, Redix is still around. Redix has a lot of damage from long range here. 1 or 2 of those A's may very well connect here and just... Oof, okay, didn't quite want to go for it. Didn't want to risk the 4 versus 2. I think that's the right decision at the end of it, but Wolves certainly letting this game get away from them even further, right? Salty Potatoes doing a good job of actually prioritizing the objective they can take rather than rolling the dice.
I mean, look at the scoreboard, 17-4. You would think this would be a extremely dominant game from Salty Potatoes, but at this 19-minute mark, there's only 3,000 difference in goal. Wolves have really kept themselves afloat here as much as possible. Surely, with this Ghost Wing taken and now the Black Claw started, Paprika on the wrong side of the map, this could be the undoing for Wolves in this game. We'll have to find out as Chrysior setting up the Churn Walker chains. Kigaz are in so much trouble to Viking, but Viking now caught out. Fearsome Shade keeps him alive. Chrysior stuck in the middle of nowhere. It is going to be engaged coming out of Ace-Royd, but he gets popped and gets taken straight down. 2 kills for nil at the moment as this Black Claw continues to be taken. The Spitfires over the wall, trying to find the steal but can't. Paprika now will lose his life as well. 3 gone for nothing, and a Black Claw to push down the mid lane. Salty Potatoes prep to win this one.
Oh, when you look at it, Viking and PT Lamb have a combined 13-0 and 23 scoreline. Like, that is such a difficult combination to deal with when they're this far ahead. We've always talked about how this Baptiste, the weapon power Baptiste went ahead, is so devastating when he gets on you in fights, and that's exactly what is happening here. These armories, the towers, everything is falling so quickly. The Salty Potatoes are just going to wrap this one up, you have to feel.
Kigaza trying to fight Aeon all by himself. A lot of damage dealt to Aeon, and Chrysio pulls him back in. Wolves might be able to mount a defense, but as I say that, another kill goes Vikings' way. And he is ticking away. Does he lose his life? He's burning. I don't think he will. Cruel finds the stun. It is going to be Paprika taking out PT Lamb. Aeon in the backline doing some work on this Celeste, really just trying to hold Wolves back from that Black Claw, taking their Vein Crystal. Paprika finds a double, looking for a triple, but Viking says no, another kill for me. Imagination left in the base by himself, trying to take out Redix. Chrysio trying to stop that from happening, will lose his life finally. This Black Claw, so healthy, half HP, the Vein Crystal being taken. Rear End, the captain says, I've got this. A fish food locks up Redix. He might have to fall back here. I think Rear End can do it. Vikings in the fight as well. Full health teleports back. This should be Salty Potatoes taking the lead, taking the win here. They just have to focus the Vein Crystal. Don't even worry about the death here, Viking. You've done enough. 24-8, 21 minutes in. It will be Salty Potatoes knocking down Wolves after a bloodbath of a match.
Crazy game. Viking going unkilled. A great performance from PT Lamb after the roster change, the swap of position. Salty Potatoes looking a lot better in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Found their feet in this one, and we'll take that win over Wolves in dominant style. Let's see what FlashX and Tasty Bacon will make of that Salty Potatoes win.
Well, Aeon backing up his words from earlier, showing that, Salty Potatoes are the stronger team here in this matchup. I don't think anyone's super surprised by it. I mean, Wolves they really have not looked that strong at all through this preseason, unfortunately. Obviously, taking steps forward in the right direction, but just baby steps when they need to take giant leaps.
Absolutely. Wolves definitely made Aeon work for it, though. This is definitely one of those important team fights here earlier on in the game. Salty Potatoes, this was a huge team fight for them. They find the go-ahead with this. They're able to rotate down, take the Ghost Wing, which ultimately sets up for that Black Claw take, helping them close out the game. It looked very, very good. But we need to talk about Viking. He went absolutely ham, 9-0-12. That is exactly what he needs to keep doing if they're going to keep competing with these top teams.
That's what we thought we would see out of Viking after day one of the preseason. Hasn't been consistent, but let's see what you guys thought in the Twitch chat. Don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. That was obviously the start of the game where it didn't look that great for the side of Salty Potatoes. Then you got, if Salty Potatoes lose, Aeon interview will be the best meme ever. He's definitely going to be glad that is not the case coming into this one. But it ends up, like I said, he backed up his words eventually. The start of the game wasn't as clean as you would have thought, but they were able to close it out. And so with that victory, see Salty Potatoes get the win over Wolves. Clash took down Rising Lotus, and Team Queso takes down Equinox. And all is as it has been through the preseason for Europe, and the top teams picking up the victories over the bottom teams.
Absolutely nothing too surprising. Teams executing how they want to. Only 1 week left for Europe. A lot of exciting games there. Looking forward to it very much. But yeah, another great set of games out of Europe.
Yeah, and the kind of groupings are sort of locked in. That we know the top two teams. We know that Rising Lotus and Salty Potatoes will be the next two. We know that it's going to be Equinox and Wolves at the bottom two. It's just a matter of where they're going to end up finishing based on how they perform next week. But we also have North America still to come here today. Slimy Salamanders and Tribe Gaming, our hype match of the day, kicking things off at 12 noon Pacific. Then Vision Gaming and Tilt Rehab. And finally finishing off the day with Nova going head-to-head against Hammers.
Should be another fun set of series. A lot of these North American teams, some crazy results yesterday. Maybe we'll have a lot more of the same stuff looking here today. That is coming up shortly.
And before we get going before we wrap up Europe, we do have to say congratulations to Swagfish, the winner of our Kroll skin. The Samurai Kroll will be unlocked on your account. Congratulations. Make sure if you want your chance to get that final Samurai Kroll skin to be given away this weekend, that you tune in at 12 noon Pacific for our North American broadcast. We will see you then.